So that's where we stopped, page 54, where Sri Aurobindo was sharing how we live in our ignorance and how little we know. We only have little windows of understanding, and we think that we know, and we know nothing actually. But at times when we are in our deeper self, when we are very close in our inmost self, we do have glimpses, here, I think in the beginning, yeah, here, too seldom is the shadow of what must come, cast in an instant on the secret sense. So it's not that we are not given indications. The indications are always there, but we are so absorbed in the outward life. Everything unnecessary has become our necessity. And that's where we keep ourselves engaged throughout our lifetime, most of the time. And hence we are not available to be sensitive to these indications or guidance from above. And then he describes how our range is so fixed in the physical senses. Our range is fixed within the crowded arc. Mind keeps the soul prisoner. So all that we understand, little, our knowledge that we have, it comes through the mind. And mind, according to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, is half-lit ignorance. It does not, all that it perceives is through senses. We yet do not live in the higher ranges of the mind. We do not access those ranges that often. Mostly we access the physical mind, through senses, through sense perceptions. And it's a very, very limited knowing that we have. It's just half-lit ignorance, as he says. We cannot free our gaze to reach wisdom's sun. Since our understanding is limited to what we see, hear, touch, sense, or smell, that's where it almost as if we are caged in these senses. So whatever understanding I have comes through these senses. Why? Because then he traces back our animal existence, inheritor of the brief animal mind. Man, still a child in nature's mighty hands. So as if an evolution is going on, happening, and man considers himself really amazing. He has touched, great heights, no doubt about it. But I think it's more of our arrogance that we claim that we know, rather than, what we really know. All that we know is owing to the grace only. Or grace makes us available to know. Man, still a child in nature's mighty hands, in the succession of moment life lives. So we live in succession of moment to moment. That's what we know. Our knowledge is, our vision is not a large vision. We just have a very little window to what we know, what we understand. What we know of is our past, of me and my story, and then future. The moment I go forward to the future, it flees away from me. I can never really know my future. It flees away. The moment I touch the future, it becomes the present. Armed with a limited, precarious strength, he saves. And now, since we really have strength, which is kind of a limited strength, it's not an unlimited strength. For example, even if I've given myself to mother's work, I would feel limited in my strength after a few hours of my time, because that's how I am made somehow. I'm not able to totally have this connection, divine connection, that the whole source becomes my existence. Although the source is our existence, but our strength, whatever we have in day-to-day life, it's a very precarious strength. We cannot truly stand by it. It's not a backup that we have all the time. It fails. Many a times we become miserable. We are not able to really go on. So what we do is that whatever little fruits of actions we have, we try to protect it from the adverse chances. That's why we have these life insurances and all that saving and everything, because we don't know what lies in future. And whatever with little strength we have accumulated, okay, let us save ourselves through that. So he waits to see the consequence of his acts. How do I know whether an action is really good or not if in future, in the long run? I will wait. I will wait to see, okay, whether it turned a good decision or a bad decision. In a short term, I can never be sure whether it is a good decision or a bad decision. But that's how we are. That's how we progress ahead. because there is no other option that we have. Our ignorance is a struggling ignorance, he says. A struggling ignorance is his wisdom's mate. That's my wisdom. A struggling ignorance which is trying to make sense of things. And later on, in retrospect, when we look at the same thing, we have a different picture. We see it differently. He waits to weigh the certitude of his thoughts. He knows not what he shall achieve or when. He knows not whether at last he shall survive. Now it is the survival of our species as human beings, as we are right now. Whether we will survive like this, or whether we'll just become extinct like the dinosaurs and the prehistoric mammals or animals became extinct. He is ignorant of the meaning of his life. He is ignorant of his high and splendid fate. So no matter we have traveled spaces, we have traveled light years, we have gone to planets, found out about them, we have International Space Station floating there, yet I'm ignorant of my meaning of my life. He's ignorant of the meaning of his life. He's ignorant of his high and splendid fate. Only the immortals on their deathless heights, dwelling beyond the walls of time and space, masters of living, free from bonds of thought, who are overseers of fate and chance and will, are and experts of theorem of word need. So who knows better? Immortal beings who have, with their sadhana, they have overcome death. They have become deathless. So those beings watch over earth, watch over the whole manifestation. They watch the evolution of human beings and they guide it, they steer it here and there, because they have the larger vision. They are not bound by death. We are afraid. We are afraid that, okay, whatever little time I have, let me use it wisely. That's what we do, because we are bound by the physical consciousness. We have not yet have developed the capacity to become deathless in the body. There are beings, one of them, especially, I think last time I mentioned, many people know about him, Mahavatar Babaji. So he is considered to be a being who is around 2000 to 5000 years old, deathless. He can take any form. He visits people who are connected to him and calls them in Himalayas also at times to visit him. And he is one of those immortal beings who are guiding the whole evolution of human consciousness. They are free from the bonds of thought. We are bonded by thought. If we look at how thought binds us in our consciousness, how a little thought comes and we are just caged again with the helplessness. But these beings are masters of living. They are free from the bonds of thought. They are overseers of fate and chance and will. For us, it may be a chance happening, but they have a larger view of all these fate and chance and will. And they are expert of theorem of world need. So what is the need of collective consciousness at this moment? And according to them, that particular need of the collective human consciousness, they will steer the evolution forward. They will help steer it here or there. They can see the idea coming from the higher domains, where idea takes place, forms in the beginning. They can see the idea, the might that change time's course. They can see what is to happen in humanity or at a collective level, what is to happen now. They see that idea as if it's galloping on a horse, come maned with light from undiscovered worlds, here while the world toils on with its deep blind heart. So we are absorbed in our issues, day-to-day issues, while they are able to hear. Since they are not absorbed in the day-to-day issues, they are able to hear the idea or that thought might coming to human evolution or the earth, which will change the time's course, which will change the events as we see them. Many events have happened in collective history, which have changed, which have propelled us further to change. So they see it coming, they hear it coming. And then they see it coming, doing its job. And while we are busy crying and maybe thinking that, oh my God, what happened? Maybe some calamity happened. The idea just impassive. It's just there. The idea that comes riding on this horse, it is impassive. It does not pay a heed to our cries because it knows the higher, it knows the larger vision, why the thing was done on the very first place. And impassive to earth's din and started cry, return to the silence of the hills of God. As lightning leaps, as thunder sweeps, they pass and leave their mark on the trampled rest of life. So it comes, that idea comes from the undiscovered worlds, and it does the job, and then it goes back into the source, undiscovered worlds where it came from, while we are trying to make sense of it, not really able to make sense of it. Yeah, so this was, I just was giving an overview just to have an overlap from where we stopped last time. So let us continue. And if you have any reflections in between, please keep sharing. So Jyotsna ji, if you can read this, lines in pink.
Yeah. Above the world creators stand. In the phenomenon, see its mystic source. These heed not the deceiving outward play. They turn not to the moment's busy tramp, but listen with a still patience of the unborn for the slow footsteps of far destiny, approaching through huge distances of time, unmarked by the eye that sees effect and cause, unheard mid the clamour of the human plane.
Yes, thank you. So above the world creators stand. You know, whenever we are, even when we maybe are making a building, it gives a different view when we are looking it from a distance. So these immortal beings, the world creators, they stand above the world. They have the larger view. They are not bound by mortality. Above the world creators stand. In the phenomenon, see its mystic source. Now, phenomenon is something which has a beginning and an end, you know, like in a small event happening. It has a limit. It is a finite thing. Phenomenon is a finite thing. But they, immortal beings, the world creators, they are able to see the infinite mystic source in the finite, which is the phenomenon. For us, it's a very challenging task. You know, ask yourself, am I able to, you know, we must ask ourselves, am I able to see divine everywhere? At times we may be, but it's a hard thing for us. You know, it does not come that easy for us. Am I able to just see everything, each and everything that I touch or come across in my 24/7 of day-to-day life? Am I able to see it as divine? No. The answer is no. At least my answer is no. Because it's so dark and thick, this layer of ignorance. At times we may be in subtle states of consciousness where we are just full of this light and everything appears really beyond the appearances we can see. But for these immortal beings, the world creators, they are able to see in the phenomenon its mystic source. So the mystic source is not separate from the phenomenon. No, for us, divine is something and a relationship is something else. I go to the divine when a relationship begins to fade. But for them, a phenomenon, anything limited, a relationship, a work situation, any little thing in day-to-day life, they are able to see the mystic source in that. So the infinite and the finite are not separate from each other. They are just one. Finite is an expression of the infinite. And for them, it is a reality. For us, it's a struggle. These heed not the deceiving outward play. Why? Because they are not absorbed in the outward play of life. We are absorbed in the outward play of senses, Whatever I listen, it makes an impression on me. Somebody said something about me, it makes an impression on me. We try hard not to let it affect us, but it does affect us. Once something has entered your mind, just look at it, how difficult it is to erase. It's only in divine plunge that it can be erased. Again and again, from time to time, one needs to, I think, takes these holy plunges in the divinity within, so that these impressions get wiped off. Otherwise, these senses really are very uh, interesting phenomenon, I would say. So these heed not the deceiving outward play. They are not deceived by the outward play of existence. They turn not to the moment's busy tramp. Like I am occupied in my day-to-day busyness, they are not really there. They have no preoccupations which are most important. For them, most important is this, what they've already done and are doing. For us, most important is taking care of our clothes, our food, necessities, our children, that becomes the most important. And going, maybe finding a work, more money, collecting properties, but they are not absorbed there. So they are able to disengage from that outward happening and hear something which is more than beyond that, the outward happening. They turn not to the moment's busy tramp, but listen with the still patience of the unborn for the slow footsteps of far destiny approaching through huge distances of time. So since they are not engaged elsewhere where we are engaged, which is necessary for us, they listen, they are able to listen to these voices, listen to the mystic source and its murmuring with still patience of unborn. Patience, imagine patience, which is absolutely still. Our patience is a very precarious patience. Like in 1 hour, my patience gives way to anger. But they talk about still patience of unborn, that which is beyond birth and death. That stillness, with that still patience, they listen. What do they listen to? To the slow footsteps of far destiny, what is possible for us, mankind. They know what is the higher possibility of human beings. Slow footsteps of far destiny approaching through huge distances of time, unmarked by the eye that sees effect and cause, unheard mid the clamor of the human plane. So our eyes see through our senses the effect and the cause. Okay, I went to the swimming pool, I jumped and got wet. So the cause, the effect, that is how we make sense of things. But their listening is unmarked by the sense perception. Their listening is unheard, it is unmarked by the clamor of the human plane. All that we hear is through the senses, but they are able to hear beyond the senses. They are not allowing the senses, since they are unborn and beyond the mortality of a physical body. They're able to sense this footsteps of our destiny coming, and which is untarnished by this noise pollution that we have at our ordinary human plane. Yeah. So any reflections from here?
Yeah, just a small remark, ma'am.
Yeah.
You talked about collective consciousness. No, earlier summary, collective consciousness and evolution. That's a very profound thought. I mean, it's startling even to. It may look simple to some people, but the collective consciousness has an impact on evolution, is it?
Yeah, I believe so, Raviji.
Okay.
They are
sorry.
Quite.
Yeah, that's what you said. It's very profound.
Yeah. I think they are quite connected, because, and that's why Mother and Sri Aurobindo also say, and other masters also say, that the moment we change our consciousness, as if you have spread a ripple in the collective consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah. So one
And
drop changes and the other also gets affected, since we are
affected.
connected. Yeah.
The evolution, there is a shift. Okay.
Yes.
And, and another small thing, for the slow footsteps of our destiny approaching through huge distances of time. This again, I mean, is this the slow footsteps of destiny and approaching through huge distances of time? That is, one small step of destiny is sort of jumps through huge distances of time. Is that what?
That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
This is like the 1968 Armstrong, one small step for man, one small step, and then on the moon, and it was a giant
One
leap for
step for
mankind.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that summarizes what Sri Aurobindo said in his thing, the slow footsteps of our destiny.
Yeah.
It's again a very, very profound.
Yeah.
That's it.
Profound. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Very profound.
Yes, Jyotsna ji, you want to share something?
No, what he mentioned about collective consciousness and evolution, it's been mentioned by Mother and Sri Aurobindo somewhere very decisively, that that's why when they say that when the supramental is brought down and the collective consciousness will be at its peak, evolution of man will be so rapid.
Rapid. Okay.
You must have read it I think you must have read it, because when they read that, once it comes collectively, and that is the reason for Sri Aurobindo's yoga, integral
Okay.
yoga. Integral, he meant in the sense of, actually, I think he was emphasizing on the collective consciousness, where it was integral to all humanity and integral to all our, vital, physical, mental, everything. But he also meant integral to all humanity, to reflect on the evolution of man.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Jyotsna ji. Yeah. So let's go ahead. Yes. So I think Ravi ji, lines yellow. Yeah.
Attentive to an unseen truth, they seize a sound as of invisible augur wings, voices of an unplumbed significance, mutterings that brood in the core of matter's sleep. In the heart's profound audition, they can catch the murmurs lost by life's uncaring ear, a prophet speech in thought's omniscient trance.
Yeah. Thank you. Attentive to an unseen truth, they seize a sound as of invisible augur wings. So they are attentive to an unseen truth, that which we human beings, mortal beings, are not able to see. And owing to that attention to that truth, they're able to seize a sound as if of invisible augur wings. So augury is a Greek, ancient Greek and Romans, they would use this art of foretelling the future, where they would use this instances of, if a bird has flown to your left side, or maybe flown from your back side and came to front. So these marks of how a bird goes around you, they would use these instances to touch or to foretell your future, make a prophecy or something about omens, And so attentive to an unseen truth, they seize a sound as of invisible augur wings. So as if they are able to see something of the future, listening to this truth, unseen truth and sound, which we mortal beings are not able to hear. So they are able to predict or foretell something that is to come, just like making a prophecy, just like Sri Aurobindo makes a prophecy here of how earth, nature will change. Voices of an unplumbed significance. So what they're able to listen to is voices of an unplumbed significance. So their significance is so deep that it cannot be fathomed. What they hear, what they are able to sense or foresee. Voices of an unplumbed significance, mutterings that brood in the core of matter's sleep. They're also able to hear the subconscious mutterings, which go on and on in matter's inconscience. As if something wants to rise up from there. Something is kind of, making little noises rising up from there, from matter's darkness and inconscience. They're able to hear those mutterings that they want to rise up. In the heart's profound audition, they can catch the murmurs lost by the life's uncaring ear. Now, the way we mostly live a very insensitive life. Although our life is mostly run by the senses, yet it's a very, very insensitive life. Why? Because the subtle levels beneath the senses we are not aware of. Just like if there is a lot of noise in my neighborhood, I will not be able to hear the birds chirp because the sound is very, very subtle. So for me to hear the birds chirp, which is a very, very subtle voice, I have to make the atmosphere a bit quiet so that the outer noise pollution is not there. But hence I'm uncaring, life's uncaring ear. So our lives goes on and on and on, work, kids, family, around everything that we think is important to follow. It's uncaring ear. But they are able to listen to these murmurs. In the heart's profound audition, this subtle audition that they have, they are able to catch murmurs lost by life's uncaring ear. A prophet speech in thought's omniscient trance. They're also able to see this prophecy, the speech that tells about future in thoughts. Now, this is a thought which is pure thought, capital T, Sri Aurobindo uses here, where thought is untouched by the physical mind. It's pure thought, which is illumined by above, from the heights, which is a reflection of the truth. Just like we see Vishnuji, he's lying in this half awake, trance-like state, very receptive and all awake. For him, it's an awake state, his trance. For us, we think that when we are awake to senses, that's what we call as awake. But masters and mystics have said that when we are awake to just the senses, and that too in a very superficial sense, that they call as sleep. That's why Kabir would say, wake up from your slumber, because all that I do is eat, sleep, and make merry all the time. But he's asking me to wake up from the slumber of senses. So this thought represents the thought which is illumined thought, a thought which is all powerful, all present, omniscient trance, as if it's in a trance like state. And a prophet speech, something of future, can be seen through that thought. So anything from here, anyone?
Here I would like to mention, he says, in the heart's profound audition, they can catch the murmurs lost by life's uncaring ear. Here, the murmur is, when we examine the heart, we examine cardiac activity, there are particular murmurs in the heart which give us the diagnosis of the patient's condition. Okay, and they are very typical. They are called murmurs, all different types of murmurs, which give you a significant diagnosis to the entire cardiac condition with just a murmur sound. It will be like a whoosh or a drop or a run, like running water, different kinds of murmurs. So when he says that whether we catch it or not, in the profound audition they can catch, the murmurs are what we what is the language that the heart speaks to us? That's how the heart of a human being speaks to us, and that is what our stethoscope really does. We
Yeah,
catch only heart sounds and we catch murmurs.
very interesting. Yeah,
So it's very interesting that he
uses the word here. Yeah, yeah, very interesting. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Great. So, yeah,
About the illusion of the hopes that pass, behind the appearance and the overt act, behind this clockwork chance and vague surmise, amid the wrestle of force, the trampling feet, across the cries of anguish and of joy, across the triumph, fighting and despair, they watch the bliss from which earth's heart has cried, on the long road which cannot see its end, winding undetected through the skeptic days, and to meet its guide and to meet it guide the unheeded moving world.
yeah. Thank you, Raviji. Above the illusion of the hopes that pass, illusion of the hopes, the hopes that we have in our life, and how we are disillusioned also at times after something happens. Maybe I was hoping for it to happen, it happens, and it really does not make that much of a difference in my life. But in one of the cartoons also, Snoopy, peanut cartoons, if you know of, there he says in one cartoon strip that anticipation far exceeded the actual event. So I think that's where we are also, that we, through our hopes, we get an illusion that uh, I will be fulfilled, maybe bliss would come, more happiness and more joy. But we see that our, whatever joys that we have, whatever bliss that we have, it's so fleeting, so ephemeral. And nothing lasts really. No blissful experience really lasts. And there I am in the plunge of the day-to-day challenges again. Although I may have few blissful experiences, but bliss is something which we crave for, which touches us like a carrot, hanging, given to us, and we touch it maybe in a few moments of our life, and then it goes away again. So he calls hope an illusion, the human hopes, he calls them an illusion. Above the illusion of the hopes that pass, behind the appearance and the overt act, behind this clockwork chance and vague surmise. So all that we have, these chance happening in our lives, it seems like mechanical clockwork, it's like tuck, 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 chance, many chances and happenings keep on happening. And what we are trying to do is we try to make a sense of it, like guess why did it happen, and maybe this was the lesson I had. So vague surmise, we are just guessing with our half-lit mind. Behind the appearance and the overt act, behind this clockwork chance and vague surmise, vague guesses that we make, amid the wrestle of force, the trampling feet, there is a clash going on. There is a clash at an individual level in our lives, clashes of egos, clashes of who's maybe right at this moment, whose idea must be followed. Then clashes at national level, at a global level, there are clashes of ideas, of opinions. It's clashes everywhere, wrestling of forces, and amid the wrestle of force, the trampling feet, across the wrestle of, across the cries of anguish and of joy. And again, in our lives also we see cries of anguish, and we see joy also, but then come and go, touch and go. Across the triumph, fighting and despair, they watch. Now again, referring to the higher beings, the immortal beings, they are able to see beyond all these human ordinary conditions, above the illusion of hopes that pass, behind the appearance and the overt act, Behind this clockwork chance and vague surmise, amid the wrestle of force, the trampling feet, across the cries of anguish and of joy, across the triumph, fighting and despair, they watch the bliss. And all that we are doing, this through our trials, we want bliss in life. All of us seek for more and more bliss. Now, even if we talk of spirituality, and one day if I ask myself that, would I still be on a spiritual path if it does not really guarantee me more and more quiet and bliss? And I would actually have second thoughts about it. Because all that we do, why do we follow Mother or Sri Aurobindo or spirituality? Because it gives us joy. All that we crave for is a bliss. Since the universe is based on delight, it's based on Satchit Ananda. It's a universe which is, the basis is Ananda. So it is impossible that I am engaged in anything which is not giving me a touch of bliss. And that's where we suffer. Many a times we are suffering. We think that left to me, I would not suffer. That's what I think. But maybe I am not really able to see that in suffering also there is a rasa. Without rasa, my existence cannot be. I would not be involved in that activity. So many of us take a sadistic ras in suffering, a juice in suffering. And that's why we continue to suffer, like prolong our suffering many a times. But these immortal beings, they are able to watch the bliss for which the whole earth is crying. They watch the bliss for which earth's heart has cried. On the long road, which cannot see its end. And this bliss, as if, is coming through a winding road, very twisty, curvy, and lots of turns in between. On the long road, which cannot see its end, winding, this bliss is coming, winding undetected through the skeptic days. So although I am involved in my daily troubles and all the anguish and whatever was described, the daily human life, yet this bliss is as if paving, our whole direction of humankind is paving way towards more and more bliss, undetected. We don't really know where we are going, in what direction we are going forward, undetected through the skeptic days, because the mind doubts. We have a doubting mind. That's the problem. Also, pros and cons of being an intellectual. We have a doubting mind, a skeptic mind, and yet, in spite of all the doubts and skepticism, the world consciousness, the collective consciousness, is moving towards bliss. That's what these immortal beings, the world creators, are paving way forward. They are helping us go forward. And to meet it, guide the unheeding moving world. So what they do is, so that we are able to meet the bliss that we crave for, they guide us. They guide the unheeding moving world. Although we don't pay attention to it, we are highly insensitive beings in our day-to-day life. And yet, with their love and with their generosity and their eye on all the movements of world, they are paving the way for us, unheeding world, so that we meet ultimately, finally, that bliss is our destination. I think that's where Mother says that again and again in prayers and meditation. She would say that divine victory is certain. Thy victory is certain. And that's where the divine victory comes, that bliss is something that each of us craves for, but it's not our reality as the way we live. But very soon, maybe many thousands of years also, it will become possible that we live a life based on bliss, which is expressing bliss, divine bliss, in each moment of life. That's our higher possibility. And that's what these beings guide us towards. Yeah, so any reflections here?
Actually, I was the one who read this now. I was like an earthling, struggling, falling because I didn't get the flow. And then when you explained you are like an immortal, you brought it in proper focus. I mean, from a poetical point of view, that was my take on this thing, because you're not able to connect I was not able to connect the sentences or the phrases in a flow. I think which you brought out very nicely. That was good.
Yeah, thanks, Raviji. I think each one of us, for example, I also get light from other sources. So I think it's like all of us showing each other whatever we have. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, we get light from each other. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe we can go ahead and read this line. So we'll do until this last line, and belief shall be not. Today we'll just finish it here. So whoever is ready, the lines in yellow.
Thus will the masked transcendent mount his throne. When darkness deepens, strangling the earth's breast, and man's corporeal mind is the only lamp, as a thief's in the night shall be the covert tread of one who steps unseen into his house.
Yeah, so now he's taking us towards the possibility, the higher possibility of earth becoming divine. When he also writes life divine, that in this mortal realm, earthly realm, life has the power to become divine. It does not have to remain ugly and full of conflicts, clashes, wars. It does not have to remain like that. So now he takes us forward towards this prophecy that he's making. Thus will the masked transcendent mount his throne. So as if, the transcendent, the Brahman, the divine, who is so far masked in the finite appearances, now the moment bliss becomes the guiding principle, although it is indirectly the guiding principle, but the more forward it comes in life, the more it takes its seat, there the divine will mount on his throne. He'll take his seat as a king. So now he's taken the seat as in a covert manner, like we cannot see him really. And the way we are, the way we live, there is more ugliness than beauty. And beauty comes to us in bits and pieces. There is more ugliness that is there in our life, owing to the fact that we are coming from ignorance. But then slowly, as we become more receptive to bliss, as we pave our way forward to bliss, thus will the masked transcendent mount his throne. When darkness deepens, strangling the earth's breast, and man's corporeal mind is the only lamp, as a thief's in the light shall be the covert tread of one who steps unseen into his house. I think beautiful lines, really marvelous lines, especially these 5, in yellow. When darkness deepens, strangling the earth's breast, how we are just drenched in our ignorance. No matter how much we may have read, we may have read Life Divine, we may have read Savitri, yet we know that darkness is a part of our life. Ignorance and ugliness is a part of our life. Thus, when darkness deepens, strangling the earth's breast, so the darkness really becomes very thick, like you're not really finding out a way. And man's corporeal mind, the physical mind, which runs on the senses, what I touch, make, sense and perceive, that's what the mind makes sense of, and it's a light that I have to navigate in this world. So how do I make way into the world? By my touch, by my listening, by what my understanding is. So it's a very limited light that I have, only lamp. So the physical mind, which runs on the sense perceptions, is the only lamp that I have in this darkness. As a thief's in the night shall be the covert tread. Just like a thief, very, very meticulously, without making any sound, it enters house. Just like that, would be the covert tread, very secret coming in of one who steps unseen into his house. So he's entering his own house. The whole manifestation is the house of the divine only, but he would enter unseen, in a very covert, in a very secret manner, in a manner which nobody can heed really. Yeah, in the middle of the darkness. I think that also gives us a lot of inspiration and hope, the possibilities that are there, and that we are taken care of, that no matter how much darkness may be there in our lives, we are taken care of. So that it also brings in a lot of certitude and faith, when we read these lines. Beautiful lines. Yeah, any reflections on this?
A voice ill-heard shall speak, the soul obey. A power into mind's inner chamber steal. A charm and sweetness open life's closed doors, and beauty conquer the resisting world. The truth light capture nature by surprise. A stealth of God compel the heart to bliss, and earth grow unexpectedly divine.
Yeah, thank you. So here he talks in these two paragraphs, the one that Raviji read and after the one coming forward, he talks about the earth becoming divine. How would the nature be transformed? A voice ill heard. We don't hear this voice. Adesh, like Sri Aurobindo got the Adesh from above, and he was able to hear it and then immediately follow the directions. But for us, it's ill heard. We don't, because we are hearing mostly to the senses, we are not able to hear this voice which does not come through the senses. Yeah, a voice ill heard coming from above shall speak. The soul obey. Now there would be no disobeying. Adesh has come, I have to follow. Only one direction is there. A power into mind's inner chamber steal. The mind's inner chamber, the inmost mind, as is reflected in the descriptions of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So there is the outer mind, the inner mind, and the inmost mind, which is connected with the psychic being, the inmost mind. That will become powerful. A light and radiance will come there. A power into mind's inner chamber steal. A charm, a sweetness, open life's closed door. So a charm so beautiful, like, when I was reading these lines, it reminded me of when we look at the mother, it's at times, not at times, it's just, one cannot resist. I don't know, maybe not with all of us, but one can not resist her, maybe looking at her, or, her smile, or her personality, or I don't know what it is about her, that it's like a magnet which draws you towards her. So life will not be able to remain closed, like we live a closed life. We live with so many locks on our hearts. We will not be able to do so. A charm, a sweetness will open life's closed doors. The way we live in a narrow-minded consciousness will not be able to do so anymore. A beauty conquer the resisting world. Now, a beauty so profound, again, beauty which we see in Mother and Sri Aurobindo, that we can't stop ourselves but to go forward to it. Yeah. So a charm and sweetness and a beauty which will be conquering our consciousness, conquer the resisting world. And I'll not be able to resist anymore that beauty. The truth light, the light of the supramental manifestation, the supermind, light coming from the supermind, or the truth consciousness. The truth light capture nature by surprise. So I am unaware. I really have not become aware of, okay, now I am available for the supermind. Now I have progressed enough. So no, not really. It's only the grace that decides when we are ready or when we are not ready. So it will take us by surprise. The truth light capture nature, the outer nature that we have, the nature, emotions, the mind, the physical nature all that will be taken by surprise when the truth light, the light of supramental consciousness, is overpowering our nature. The truth light capture nature by surprise. A stealth of God compel the heart to bliss. One would be compelled to stay in this blissful state. Compelled, like you can't do but be there. Yeah. And earth grow unexpectedly divine. I think it's a beautiful possibility, our higher possibility, prophecy almost, which Sri Aurobindo and Mother give us, that this all is possibility. It's not far away from us. We are moving towards this earth becoming divine. Our nature, our human nature, full of ugliness, is coming more and more beautiful, full of this nectar of sweetness. Yeah. So, and the coming lines also, he goes on describing the earth becoming divine. Yeah. So please share if any reflections, and if not, please continue.
In matter shall be lit the spirit's glow. In body and body kindled the sacred birth. Night shall awake to the anthem of the stars. The days become a happy pilgrim march. Our will a force of the eternal's power, and thought the rays of a spiritual sun. A few shall see what none yet understands. God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep. For man shall not know the coming till its hour, and believe shall be not till the work is done.
Yeah, thank you.
And profound.
Yeah, yeah. So he continues the journey of earth becoming divine in this last few lines. In matter shall be lit the spirit's glow. So now the matter is, if we look even at our skin, the matter that we have, it's an obscure matter. Like what is inside, I cannot see. It obscures. And many a times we also are able to, most of the times I would say, we are able to, nobody knows what's going on inside my thought or emotions. It's all is obscure, all can be hidden. But here, as the earth grows more transparent, more divine, and full of radiance, in matter shall be lit the spirit's glow. So the spirit's shine and radiance would be visible in the matter that we are made of. In body and body kindled the sacred birth. So it's also can be reflected as that that radiance would be contagious. So each light in one body, for example, would be able to, by contagion, spread that radiance to another body, and then to just like we spread flus, or maybe some contagious diseases like this virus, for example. That glow, that radiance of supramental manifestation also would be kindled body and body, like it's contagious. This spread is contagious. And this sacred birth, as if you are born into a new consciousness. In body and body kindle the sacred birth. Night shall awake, the dark night of ignorance shall awake to the anthem of the stars. So anthem is a sacred song. And stars, whenever we talk about stars, it's like they're twinkling with this radiance, the illumination that they have. So in darkness of ignorance, we'll be able to hear the illumination, the songs of illumination, the songs of supramental radiance and illumination. Then the days become a happy pilgrim march. Whenever we go on a pilgrimage, we are very happy, that we want to, for example, Kedarnath, Badrinath, or the other, even in South India, places where people go for pilgrimage. We go very happily. If we have our blisters on our feet, we take it very happily because we know what we are going forward to. But right now, the way we live life, many a times we are not able to maintain this cheerfulness, or what Mother has also talked about, this cheerful attitude, or always with a smile bear every hardship that you have. We just are not able to do that every moment. Many a times we may be, but most of the times we are not able to follow, especially in difficult situations. But the way it will unfold for us in earth consciousness, becoming divine, the days become a happy pilgrim march, that I'm taking all the challenges in my stride because I know the way is worth it. Our will, a force of the eternal's power. Now, will, the seat of will is between the eyebrows, the third eye that we say. And that day I was listening to Dr. Soumitra Basu, who said that when you concentrate between the eyes, he was talking to a group of people. He said that offer your will to Mother and Sri Aurobindo or to the divine. So there is the center of the will, and you keep on offering your will to the divine or Mother and Sri Aurobindo. That's one way to again and again say that let thy will be done and not mine, because again and again we take charge in our own hand. Our will, a force of the eternal's power. So it will become the divine will. My will is your will. And thought, the rays of a spiritual sun. Now, at the moment, our thought is clouded, really clouded, hazy. But as we go forward to supramental manifestation, the thought would become rays of a spiritual sun, full of light and illumination, not clouded by ignorance. A few shall see what none yet understands. And yet, when all of this is happening, a few may be able to see, although what nobody really understands what is happening, but seeing can be there. A few shall see what none yet understands. God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep. The wise humanity that we consider ourselves to be, we will keep on ourselves engaged in the daily talk and sleep and whatever we do. Yet the manifestation would be taking place without our heed. God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep. For man shall not know the coming till its hour, and belief shall be not till the work is done. So until it comes into full bloom, like you cannot escape that it's supramental consciousness, the work will go on secretly and the man would not know. I think, again, very, very powerful lines. And it also tells whether we want it or not, it's going to happen. We cannot resist it, and it's our destiny. We are destined to go again. But adding on that, Mother says that the beautiful way is to collaborate with the divine. Once you know that this is our possibility, we collaborate. We take hardships with gratitude, and we remember the mother or offer everything to the mother again and again. Yeah, so I think I'll stop there, and if you have any reflections, please go ahead and share.
All we have to do is stand back and sit and wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have any other choice but to be aware.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yes. Great. Then, so thank you so much, Dr. Ji, Ravi Ji. Thank you for joining, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.